Hey y'all, it's me. It's your girl. And you already know. Go ahead on and do it. Like, share, and subscribe. What's up, real deal? Man, I've been so scared to touch this case, y'all. This case right here, I was so scared to put my fingers on it. But we would been busy with other cases, so this case right here, woo, Shad. Let me tell you about Miss Girl. Shad, this girl right here is something else. Let me put her face right here, cause y'all gonna get her. Gonna think her pretty face is something, y'all. She's something else. hmm She has been given a sentence today, y'all, and they gonna sentence her today. What she did to her boyfriend, her ex. Let me put his name, Shad. It's something that you'll be surprised. Y'all come on in. So this is gonna come on in a minute, guys. Okay. I'm not gonna go to sleep. If I go to sleep, I'm gonna mute everything, okay? Promise y'all, I'm gonna mute it. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about y'all. Come on in. I'm gonna tell y'all a little bit about. I'm gonna go ahead on and tell. I'm gonna go on and talk because I got people watching. What I'm. Let me tell you something. What this woman right here did. She was arrested after Chad mother found his head in her basement in a bucket. Okay. She was charged with first degree intentional homicide, third degree SA, and mutilation. This woman right here, woo. And the day is the 26th, y'all, and she will be sentenced today. And her attorney is attempting to delay the process. Why? Yes. She she faces a mandatory life sentence, y'all. But the judge can decide on the possibility of parole. Now, the judge, Lord have mercy, y'all help me, see. No, the judge, miss, these folks a miss. This case right here, he talking about he trying to delay it. Oh, miss. Let's see what else I can tell y'all about this woman. Yeah, she jumped on her own. She she jumped on her own attorney, y'all. Mm. And she cried. Tia said Jerry decided she was staying with decapitating level. Her mental health was the focus points before a trial could begin. But mental evaluators found Taylor competent. Okay, so ain't nothing wrong with her. She pleaded not guilty by mental illness in September 22. Ain't nothing wrong with her, y'all. She just did that. She trying to play something insane. Mm-mm. Yeah, we take that down. We missed. Also, this her sentencing hearing. Taking so long. Come on. They said it was gonna come on at 10:30. I don't know what they waiting on. That's why I put it on. Cut her little head off. I mean, shit in the back again. Hey, hey, hey. I will be doing this today. Mute my mic. Cause I'm gonna mute the mic. How we still come on? I wonder what they waiting on. Let me see something. Hold on. See, you should. I don't know why they came on. They said 10:30. 10:30.
Struggling to keep up with multiple loans? Use this money hack to consolidate your debt. It feels like most of us have struggled financially a lot.
Oh, no. It said 10:30, y'all. I guess it's their turn, but it's about to come on. It ain't came out yet. Let me see. Can I show something? I'm gonna see. Can I show something to it? Come on, guys. Let me see. Can I play what she did? I'm gonna play this until it come on. Look at this. Look how she looking. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna let y'all see this until it come on. And when it come on, then I take it out. I'm gonna play this right quick. Get y'all a little idea what our challenge is. This morning, hold on, let me play this to the trash. I didn't mean to take that down. Hold on, y'all. Lanita. Okay. Okay, let's leave this right here. I'm gonna play this y'all until the trial start. This woman right here. Oh, it stopped it. Okay, let's see. You miss her trial.
Recognizes the penis and testicles.
Gruesome tests back the curtain in the trial of Wisconsin versus Taylor Schabusiness, the woman accused of murdering and dismembering her lover. From finding a decapitated head and penis in a bucket to catching the defendant with blood all over her hands, witnesses did not hold back any chilling details on day 2 of testimony.
Miss Schabusiness had blood on her hands when she was arrested.
Oh, good morning. I didn't see you.
No, on your hands. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to.
The skin, soft tissues, and muscle had been removed from the bone so that it was largely stripped down to the bone itself.
Now, this is crazy.
One thing I particularly noticed was for a serrated bread knife.
Damon, where you been?
The sharp pointed part of the knife were virtually ground down, dulled, if you will.
Where we have complete decapitation. In other words, it's going completely through the neck and the head is separate from the body.
With day 2 came a closer look at the defendant's arrest. Jurors were shown never before seen body camera video of the incident.
Hi, Taylor, how's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department.
25-year-old Taylor Schabusiness was arrested on February 23, 2022. Investigators in Green Bay, Wisconsin say she strangled her lover, 24-year-old Shad Thyrion, the day prior. After that, they say she dismembered his body and sexually assaulted his remains. Police were called in the early morning hours of February 23rd when Thyrion's mother discovered his severed head in a bucket in her basement.
You looked in the bucket, obviously.
I did.
Well, I want you to hear this again. Hold on, this part. So you'll know what she did.
Day prior. After that, they say she dismembered his body and sexually assaulted his remains. Police were called in the early morning hours of February 23rd when Thyrion's mother discovered his severed head in a bucket in her basement.
You looked in the bucket, obviously.
I did.
Did you move the contents of the bucket?
No.
Okay. There were other items in the bucket later on that you found out about, correct?
There were.
Green Bay Police Department Detective Philip Scanlon returned to the stand for a second day, describing the chilling discovery of Thyrion's remains.
What other items were in the bucket?
There was remains, 2 different specific types of remains that I observed.
What kind?
There was a human head. There was genitalia in the bucket.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean genitalia?
What I would recognize as a penis and testicles.
Ugh.
And were they laying underneath the head?
They were visible after the head was removed, yes.
What else did you see?
I observed a black Miracle 3 kitchen blade knife that was removed. Kitchen knife. I observed a yellow pocket knife, I guess, for best description of the pocket knife with a yellow handle. There was a head of a razor, like a shaving razor blade, nail, Jolly Rancher, and there was a flesh material that the doctor just described as a flesh material.
Blood in the bucket as well?
There was blood in the bucket, yes.
Prosecutors also called Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Vincent Tranquita to the stand, who described the multiple locations where Thyrion's remains were recovered.
Doctor, I believe you mentioned essentially in the room the 4 main containers where human remains were located. Is that consistent with your recollection?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've got the bucket, the blue bag on top of the dresser, the pink and gray bag on the floor, and then the tote. Are those the 4 locations where human remains were located in the room?
That is correct. As I go through a room and evaluate the room, I'm looking for evidence of a disturbance, a struggle, or an altercation. I'm looking for signs of biological material which may tell me where a body part may be located. I'm also looking for evidence that may have contributed to the death. In other words, instruments, objects, weapons, evidence of drug paraphernalia. In this case in particular, I'm also looking for places that a body may be concealed, or that might be evidence of movement of a body from one location to another.
Taylor ain't no
Tranquita
joke.
noted several pieces of Thyrion's dismembered body were missing from the basement.
I'm trying to recover as much of the individual as possible to try to ascertain that as much evidence as can be gained has been collected.
As you were going through the room, did you note that it was possible you did not have the entire body present in that room?
Yes, I did.
Did you note specifically what was missing?
On my inventory, I believe I was missing the right thigh, specifically from about the waist to about the knee. I believe that I was missing as well I was also missing the left thigh and left leg.
Those
Ain't
missing
nothing wrong
body
with it.
parts were later recovered in a Chrysler minivan registered to Scott Tomes, who was living with Schabusiness at the time of her arrest.
Who else is in the apartment? Be straight up. Tomes? Who else? Just Tomes? Is he armed?
Body camera video shows officers approach the minivan in the early morning hours of February 23rd. A crock pot box can be seen in the back seat, where some of Thyrion's remains would later be discovered.
Yeah, that's it. We're gonna watch her sentencing today.
Nothing. Hey.
I believe we recovered the right femur or leg bone of the thigh of the decedent.
What?
We also recovered a portion of left thigh, and we also recovered a portion of left leg from about the level of the knee to the
What's
ankle.
wrong with her?
And doctor, was there anything noteworthy about the parts that you recovered from the van?
When they were recovered from the van, they were placed in I believe, a crock pot box. There was evidence of skeletal trauma, including sawing, chop injuries, start and stop injuries of the bone, consistent with dismemberment.
Anything else about the amount of flesh that remained on those items that were recovered from the van?
Specifically, the right femur had been defleshed. In other words, the skin, soft tissues, and muscle had been removed from the bone so that it was largely stripped down to the bone itself.
Tranquita testified Thyrion's body was dismembered, with his head completely cut off and parts of his body unfleshed.
where we have complete decapitation. In other words, it's going completely through the neck and the head is separate from the remainder of the body. There are also a number of sharp force injuries above and below the level of decapitation, consistent with multiple cuts attempted as the person is trying to get through the neck. The back has been largely flayed and defleshed. In other words, the skin of the back has been removed. Also, the muscles of the back have been removed so that we have exposed rib cage. And so I believe that this is post-mortem mutilation because there is no hemorrhage associated with these injuries. In other words, I have multiple sharp force trauma with multiple stab wounds, multiple punctures, multiple incised wounds of the skin, deep cuts within the muscles and tendons and soft tissue, deep cuts.
Live streaming can be tricky, and sometimes trying to find the
we
right
gonna
software.
watch her.
Cuts within the bone.
She already
But
found
all of
guilty.
these cuts are non-hemorrhagic. In other words, there's no blood or bleeding associated with it. These are consistent with post-mortem mutilation. In other words, there's no circulation going on.
Scanlon previously described his findings at the
Yes,
crime
you
scene,
can. Come on now.
testifying multiple knives were recovered, some that were severely ground down.
Well, one of the knives in the Jimmy Choo bag, it appears to be a bread knife out of the kitchen block.
Were you able to make any specific observations about that knife?
I mean, the obvious observation was the red tissue and staining on the handle and on the blade. One thing I particularly noticed was for a serrated bread knife that the sharp pointed part of the knife were virtually
Now,
ground
but the
down.
sentencing this morning, so I don't know why they came on yet. Potter
No,
came on at
if you-
10:30.
So that is a knife that was serrated, is that correct?
Yes.
And what do you mean by ground down?
Look at
Even though
the
it's a bread
secretary.
knife, you know, it's a large serrated knife to cut bread, and it's the point ends are shallowed, more flattened. Dull.
But prior to any dismemberment,
I gave you a
Tranquita
heart.
says Thyrion was
Let me check,
strangled to death.
This is a great deal of force. We're not talking about simply injuries to the superficial structures, for example, the skin. I have injuries to the very thick muscles on the sides of the neck. I have injuries to the soft tissues beneath this. I have injuries to all the soft tissues surrounding the neck, and I also have hemorrhage on the soft tissue on the anterior aspect of the cervical spine. This is hemorrhage deep through multiple layers of the neck, consistent with a great deal of force being applied and a great deal of injury. I had numerous petechial hemorrhages or burst blood vessels of the skin of the face, of the conjunctiva around the eyes or the pink around the eyes. I had hemorrhages as well of the whites of the eyes or the sclera, and I also had hemorrhages of the mucosa of the inside of the mouth. These are all consistent with sharp pressure being applied to the neck and the blood vessels of the neck, causing bursting of these blood vessels. In addition, the tongue was protuberant outside of the mouth, consistent with the tongue being driven up and outwards during the process of strangulation. When I examined the tongue itself, there was a patterned indentation on the surface of the tongue, consistent with an object being pressed hard across the tongue such that it left an indentation within the tongue.
In opening statements, prosecutors pointed to a dog collar, saying that was Schabusiness's weapon of choice in her lover's murder. Tranquita confirmed the theory.
Doctor, you mentioned that you were present on scene and had the opportunity to observe two
Look at her, y'all.
dog chains that were collected by law enforcement. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And did you note any consistency between those chains that were collected and the marks
I
that you
wouldn't trust
observed
her.
on Shad Thyrian's body?
Yes, I did.
And what was that?
When I'm observing injuries or trying to interpret injuries, I am looking for patterns. Anything that I can use to convey to an investigator, hey, you may want to look for this at the scene. In this case, we had very organized, repeating, interrupted indentations on the surface of the tongue, very evenly spaced apart. This would not be inconsistent with the pattern of a chain and the chain links as they twist, leaving separate corner impressions on the surface of the tongue.
While Thyrion's remains were
What?
largely bloodless, according to Trinketa, some blood was recovered from the bucket and a toxicology report was performed.
From the fluid that was submitted, we found cocaine. We found cocaine metabolite benzoyl ecgonine. We found methamphetamine. We found amphetamine.
What?
We found
Oh, yeah, it's
delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, or the active component of marijuana.
okay, yeah. We about to put it on there. The trial on there. They good right here. What they do? They took it out for hold on. They put it on there and they took it out.
And I believe we also found nicotine, which is present in most tobacco products.
In addition, Trinketa found Thyrion was COVID positive at the time of his death.
At the scene previously described, in addition, because this occurred during the time of the pandemic, we also did a nasopharyngeal swab
Oh, hold
to
on, guys.
determine
Let me
if the
put it on
decedent
there.
was COVID positive.
I'm gonna put it on there, man. It's time to watch it now. Time for us to watch it. This girl right here, y'all. They sentenced. They found her guilty. You already know that. Ooh. Oh, they don't. They don't cover her mouth up. Yeah, she jumped on her attorney the last time. She jumped on the attorney. She been spitting. Why they ain't got the She's smiling. Look at her, y'all. She's smiling. She think it's cute. $25 old. She she jumped on her. She jumped on her. She forgot it. She was fighting her attorney. Something ain't right. How she was on them drugs. I don't know why they ain't talking. I do. When if I fall asleep, I forgot I had a mic button right here. I got a mic button. Oh, look at her. Oh, what's she doing? She might have COVID or something. Mm-mm. The mud, you need to pay attention. You and yeah, that's what she wanna do, and they not gonna give it to her. She wanna flee insanity, but the nurse say ain't nothing wrong with her. I wish they'll turn it up so we can hear. She ooh. Where the guys go? Y'all come back here now and pay attention, boys. Come on, guys, y'all come on back. wonder why they ain't. Yeah. That was it,
Okay, I'll call 20
Okay.
CF 998, 20 CF 1393, 22 CF 363.
You
State
can
appears
email me
by
too.
Assistant District or Deputy District Attorney Caleb Saunders. The defendant is here in person and with Attorney Freilich. We're on the court's calendar for sentencing hearing today, as well as sentencing and revocation on those earlier files. Is the state ready to proceed, Mr. Saunders? Okay. I'm sorry, Judge. Is the state ready to proceed?
We are.
Mr. Freilich?
Yes.
Okay. I've got a copy of the pre-sentence investigation report that was ordered by the court. I have a copy of the independent pre-sentence investigation report that Mr. Freilich had submitted. I've had an opportunity to read both. I've also got some submittals that were submitted by Mr. Freilich. So let me start with the pre-sentence investigation report that was ordered by the court. Mr. Saunders, did you get a copy of that?
I did.
Did you get a copy of the other documents, including Mr. Freilich's independent evaluation?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Freilich, did you get a copy of the PSI that was ordered by the court?
Yes, by the Department of Corrections, Your Honor. Yes, I did.
All right. Any changes or corrections?
No, I can tell the court that I did review that with my client this past Friday at the Brown for several hours. We went through the entire document, talked about it, talked about the recommendations that the Department of Corrections for the state of Wisconsin was making, and there are no changes.
All right. Then let me just get a sense of how the proceeding is going to work. Does the state have any witnesses you intend to call at the sentencing hearing today?
No witnesses. There is one victim impact statement that would like to be orally addressed to the court, but no witnesses per se.
Okay. Mr. Freilich, do you intend to call witnesses today?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And can you give me a sense of how many you intend to call?
Sure. One would be my client's grandmother, Esther Coronado. She resides in Temple, Texas, and I believe she would appear via Zoom with the court's permission. I have Dr. James O'Donnell here from Illinois, the toxicologist, pharmacologist. He would provide some testimony about the meth use and the effects of that. Valerie Armour, that's my client's cousin. She's here from Ohio with my client's great aunt, Roberta, but only Valerie Armour would provide testimony. And then I have my client's father brought here from the prison system via writ of habeas corpus to provide some testimony, and his name is Arturo Coronado.
My thought is, as long as we have witnesses, we should probably take the witnesses first rather than once the witnesses have all testified, then we can receive argument from counsel. Any objection to that, Mr. Saunders?
No.
Mr. Freilich?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that would mean, although we typically start with the state, that would mean we would turn to you, Mr. Freilich, because you're the only one with the witnesses. So if you want to call your first witness, you can do so.
Okay, before I do that, Your Honor, if I may, I did receive the independent pre-sentence investigation report. It's lengthy, contains an attached alcohol and other drug assessment. I reviewed that entire document, the evaluation and the report with my client last evening at the Brown County Jail. We had a lengthy conversation again to talk about this case. And with that said, I would call Esther Coronado, my client's grandmother.
Okay. Is she coming in on the Galaxy Tab E?
I believe, yes.
Okay, so I'm seeing that on my laptop, but I'm not seeing it on the screen. Okay. So are you Ms. Coronado?
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place you under oath, and then Mr. Freilich is going to have some questions for you, and the prosecutor may or may not have some questions. but I'm going to start by asking you to raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Very good. Mr. Freilich, the witness is yours.
Thank you so much, Your Honor. Ma'am, you are Esther Coronado.
Yes.
And what is your date of birth?
January 1st, 1942.
Okay. And are you married?
Yes.
Are you married to Juan Coronado?
Yes.
Okay. And where do you live, ma'am?
Temple, Texas.
And do you know Taylor Denise Schabusiness?
Yes.
Can you see her
She's
in,
my granddaughter.
what's that?
She's my granddaughter.
Okay. Can you see her here in court?
Yes, I do.
You've known her all of your life, correct?
Yes.
What is her father's name?
My father's name?
No,
He did.
no, Taylor's father. What's his name?
Oh, Arturo Coronado.
Okay. That's your son, correct?
Yes.
When Taylor was growing up as a young girl, did she live with you in Temple, Texas?
No. When she was growing up, we were in Illinois. And that's where, I took care of her.
You would take care of her when you lived in Illinois?
Yes.
Did you help care for her after she was born?
Yes.
Did there come a time when you moved to the state of Texas?
Yes. It was in 2004.
2004?
Yes.
And is that when you moved to the Temple, Texas area?
And no, we moved back home. Yeah, that's in Cotulla.
Did you ever live in Cotulla, Texas?
Yes.
Kind of fast forwarding, when your granddaughter, Taylor Schabusiness, got a little older, did there come a point in time where she gave birth to a baby?
Yes.
And what's the baby's name?
Mateo.
And where's Mateo right now?
He's with me.
The child lives with you in Texas?
Yes.
So you're caring for Taylor's child, correct?
Correct.
How old is the child?
He'll be 2 in October 3rd.
Was there a point in time where your granddaughter, Taylor Schabusiness, went into some kind of therapy or counseling or treatment program and then got released and then came to live with you before the baby was born?
I believe so.
Okay.
I do not know about what happened in Wisconsin. I only know that she wanted to have the baby with in Texas with me because I was the only family close to her.
Okay. And so she had the baby in Texas, correct?
Correct.
Was that in like October of 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And when the baby was born, tell me a little bit about Taylor Schabusiness. Was she interacting with the baby? How did that go? Can you tell me about that?
Yes. Well, she was excited when she found out that about the baby. I know that when she came down, she wanted to be close to somebody, a relative. And so when she had the baby, she was very happy and loved that baby. But it didn't last very long because 24 hours later, CPS came and took the baby away.
When you say CPS, you mean Child Protective Services?
Yes.
Okay, please continue. We're going to say some more.
Yes, I was going to say that after that, well, it was very hard for her. And then they had told her that, well, I was there with her when they came and took the baby away, but they said I couldn't bring him home because she was here at home. But she said she would rather go to a shelter so I could bring the baby home. But that didn't happen. She left from the hospital, went to a shelter, but the baby didn't come home to me until a month later.
Okay. So at the current time, at the present time, you have the baby with you, correct?
Correct.
And you and your husband, Juan, are caring for the baby, correct?
Correct.
You sent me some photographs of Taylor Schabusiness, your granddaughter, with the baby after the child was born, correct?
Correct.
You sent me some pictures of her rocking the baby, kissing the baby's head, interacting with the baby, snuggling with the baby. Is that fair?
Yes, those pictures of her in the rocker, and that's when they would allow her to go, because he was placed with another family before he came to me, and they would allow her to visit with him with the permission of the court, and the people that were caring for that baby at that time would bring him over, and she would only have a few minutes, hour maybe with the baby, and that's she would spend with him.
Okay. After the baby was born or prior to the baby being born, did your granddaughter Taylor go out and buy clothes for the baby, onesies, outfits, things of that sort?
Yes, she did. She did. We had everything prepared for the baby here at home, and her grandparents, her grandfather and aunt sent her a crib. We had the clothes, everything, waiting for the baby after she was released from the hospital. But she did not come home because CPS would not allow it. We couldn't bring the baby home either. He was placed with another couple, and they told her she had to have to live someplace else. So she went to a shelter, and she was there at a shelter. So I would be able to bring the baby home with me.
Okay.
So she never came home with me after the baby was born. From the hospital, the next day, she went to a shelter. But we did not bring the baby home because they had placed him with another family.
Okay.
So
But right now the baby is with you, correct?
right now the baby is with me.
And the plan is likely that you're going to have permanent custody or placement of the child with you and your husband, right?
Well, we're adopting him.
Okay.
We're adopting. Taylor gave up her rights so that I could have him going to anybody else, but to stay in the family.
Sure. Okay. From your observations of Taylor Schabusiness with the baby, did it appear that she was, connected with the baby, or can you give me any feedback on that?
Yes, she was. She loved her baby. She prepared the things for the baby. Because she thought he was going to be coming home. She was setting up things for him, but he never got to come home, and she didn't get to come home either, because right from the hospital, she went to a shelter, and we came home, but we didn't bring the baby with us. He didn't come home to us till about a month later.
Okay. Some other questions for you. Do you have a close connection with Taylor Schabusiness, you and your husband, Juan?
Yes.
I think you sent some pictures of you and your husband, Juan, with Taylor Schabusiness in the middle. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
You both love each other very much. Is that fair?
Yes. We went to visit her in Wisconsin. That's where we took the pictures because she had her own apartment. She was doing well, and we went to see her, and that's when we took the pictures.
Okay. When she was living in Wisconsin, was she working at a cheese factory, Saputo Cheese? Do you remember?
Yes, she was. She was working there. She was doing good. So after that, I don't know. We communicated back and forth. She would call every week, and then later on, I didn't hear from her for a while until she told me, that about the baby, and she wanted to come and be with me so she could have the baby. And I told her that would be fine. So
Okay.
she came down to Temple.
Okay. She graduated from high school in Texas, correct?
Correct.
And that was at Cotulla High School?
Yes.
And I looked at some reports and records that she may have graduated in 2016. Is that about accurate?
I think so. I don't remember, but it probably is correct.
And when she was attending Cotulla High School, did she live with you in Texas?
Yes, she did.
Okay. How long did she live with you before she graduated from high school in Texas?
Oh, maybe about a year and a half.
And during the time that she lived with you for a year and a half prior to her graduation, did you note any problems with drug use or other issues?
No.
No,
I didn't notice any of that.
Okay. And when she lived with you in Texas, was she involved in any kind of sports or activities at all, like soccer or swimming or anything like that?
No, because it was almost her last year. So what she did was she just worked. She got several jobs there, just working maybe like a Dairy Queen. It's a small town. There's not that much work there. So she would work at different places.
Okay. Was on any kind of medication at all when she lived with you in Texas before she graduated high school?
I believe so, but I really don't know what kind of medication she was on.
You talked to some probation agents or professional people from the Wisconsin Department of Corrections when the pre-sentence report was prepared, correct? You were interviewed?
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
When this report was done, did you get interviewed by someone from the Department of Corrections?
No.
Okay.
I got interviewed by 3 persons that said they work with you, but I don't know if that was true or not. I don't. But I was interviewed by 3 someone that said they worked for you.
Okay. Your son is Arturo Coronado, and when he got divorced, did that have an impact on your granddaughter Taylor?
Well, when he got divorced, my granddaughter has been on her own for a while.
Okay. When Taylor's mother passed away in 2009, did that have an impact on Taylor?
Yes, it did, because she had just lost her mother, and a year later, her father remarried, and the person he married had children of her own. So she was kind of I would say, didn't feel well. She felt like she lost her mother, and now she was losing her dad, because there were other kids involved in there.
Your son got married to a lady named Katie after Marla passed away, correct?
Katie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And did Taylor ever talk to you about the fact that she didn't get along with her stepmom?
Taylor always kept everything to herself. She never said things about people. I know that she didn't feel comfortable. She felt like it was too soon after her mother passed away, and her father remarried, and she felt like abandoned. And then here she was in a home where there were 3 children, but one of them I know that lives with the father, but 2 of them were living there, and her and her brother lived in the basement, and so she just from a nice home that she had, then she ended up living in the basement. But like I said, she never complained to me or said anything. But I went to visit them, and I could see that, she felt misplaced by now other siblings.
Okay. You're aware of the criminal charges and the convictions that resulted after the trial in this case, correct?
Yes, I think so. I don't know too much about it, but yes, I know that they found her guilty, and they want her to spend her life in jail. And I think that she has gone through a lot in her short time of being here. She has gone through a lot. There's a lot of things that she has to, losing her mother, her father remarried, then her find herself pregnant, and losing her son, and then losing her brother. So that's a lot for a young person to take in.
And ma'am, your granddaughter, Taylor Denise Schabusiness, she's, we agree, 25 years old?
Yes.
She had a brother, Arturo J. Coronado, AJ Coronado, correct?
Correct.
And is it your understanding that he passed away, or he died in a motorcycle accident on or about July 1st of 2022?
Correct. That's right.
Did your granddaughter Taylor talk to you about that after it happened?
No, I know she was very heartbroken, but she was there in Wisconsin. She had lost her baby. She was locked up, and her brother, and that was very hard for her.
Okay. You sent me some pictures of Taylor with her brother AJ, correct?
Yes,
There's a picture of the two of them together with AJ having his hat on backwards. They appear to be happy. Is that fair?
yes, that's correct.
There was another picture where AJ, Taylor, and your son Arturo were all together as well, correct?
Correct.
Did they all get together with you in Illinois, or was that in Texas? Those pictures, where were they from? Were they from Texas or?
No, those were.
Hey, Georgia, looking for quality, affordable health insurance? At georgiaaccess.gov, there are many great ways to find a plan that meets your needs and budget. Open enrollment begins November 1st. Georgia Access, your health, your way.
But the ones with her brother and her father, this when they were living there in Wisconsin.
Okay. Are you a close-knit family, or have you been a close-knit family in the past?
Yes, we've always been very close. I took
How
care
about
of
the
Taylor
commercial?
when she was born, but then we left for Texas, and so when I left her, she was, I would say, maybe about 7 years old or 8 years old. And I would try and see him at least once a year. But then as the years passed, you know, we weren't able to travel that much. So I hadn't seen her for a while.
Do you know if your daughter visited other family members in Ohio with in the past with AJ?
I believe so. When they were young, their mother used to drive to Ohio and take them. But I do not know if later on, as they got older, if they did or not.
Do you know if Marla Coronado would take the kids, AJ and Taylor, to Ohio to visit cousins or aunts?
Yes, she did.
Okay.
She would take them, you
And-
know, to visit her dad and her brother and sister in Ohio.
Your granddaughter Taylor, is she close with your husband Juan, with Grandpa?
Yes, she is. She's very close with her grandfather.
When Taylor was living with you in Illinois, and then later on in Texas when she was going to high school at Cotulla High School, did she listen to you and follow the rules and all of that?
She did listen to me and follow some rules, but sometimes she wouldn't. She wouldn't. I mean, she wanted to do something, but like I said, she wanted to go stay by friend's house, but I would say no, Dad, let them come and stay here with you. So she did bring a friend of hers to stay overnight by us. Like I said, Taylor only lived with me there in Texas for maybe about a year and a half until she graduated from high school. And then she wanted to get back to Green Bay.
Okay. Fair to say that you've always had a close relationship with Taylor, both you and your husband?
Yes, we have. Yes.
You heard about and found out about her involvement with drugs, correct?
Yes, yes, I did. I found out later on because she used to call me, and then for a while she didn't get. You know, she wasn't calling it anymore, but I try and always try to keep in touch with her. But then afterwards, I found out that she was pregnant, and she asked if she could come down and have the baby over here by me, and I said that that would be fine, because she didn't have anybody else that she could turn to over there. So she wanted to be by me, so I told her to go ahead and come down.
Okay. Now, she's been found guilty by a jury of first-degree intentional homicide, felony, mutilation of a corpse, and third-degree sexual assault, all felony offenses, all as repeaters. For the first-degree intentional homicide conviction, the Wisconsin law is such that the sentence is life imprisonment, and the issue really is whether she should be given the opportunity for extended supervision or possibility of parole or not. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any input on that issue?
Well, I do. I believe that she has gone, in her short life, she has gone through a lot. And like I said, first losing her mother at the age of 12, then a year later, her father remarried, and there she felt misplaced there too. Then she went on her own and was doing well, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything started falling apart for her. I don't know what happened in between because we weren't communicating then. But then after she found out that she was pregnant, she wanted to come and be with me, but she wanted to have at least a relative of hers close by, and we were always very close since I took care of her when she was born until I left Illinois in 2004.
Would you agree that your granddaughter, Taylor Schabusiness, needs some drug treatment, some counseling, all of that?
I do believe that she does need some counseling and some help. She needs help.
Do you believe that she has good qualities?
Yes.
What are they?
I believe she's a very caring person and also very trusting. She trusted people that said they care for her, and actually always she was what can I say, that she always ended up getting hurt because she trusted people thinking they cared, but she's always have had the problem that wherever she goes, people just use her and she thinks they care, but they don't. They have disappointed her.
Do you believe that your granddaughter, Taylor Schabusiness, should be given the chance to possibly be on parole or extended supervision sometime in the future?
I do believe, I know that she committed a crime, and I know that they want her to pay for it, but I believe that she should have the opportunity to come back to society one time and be with her son.
Okay. Thank you very much. No further questions from me.
Any questions, Mr. Saunders?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Were you intending that she was going to stay on the Zoom, or you can certainly disconnect now if you want, ma'am, or you can remain on. But having said that, Mr. Freilich, do you have another witness?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. It's totally up to the court, but if in my opinion, if she wants to stay on, I would ask the court to consider allowing her to do that.
I think I just told her that.
Okay,
So she
okay.
can stay on if she wants.
Okay, thank you. Next, then I would call Valerie Armour.
You have to get the microphone on.
Oh, sorry. Is it on? Okay. My name's Valerie Armour. It's spelled Valerie. Armour spelled Armor.
Okay, the witness is yours, Mr. Fraley.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. You are Valerie Armour,
Yes, I am.
and where do you live?
I live in Dublin, Ohio.
Are you married?
Yes, I'm married.
What's your husband's name?
Brian Armour.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I have 4 children.
Are you employed, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Where do you work at?
I work at Sun Behavioral Health. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner.
And what do you do there?
I work inpatient psychiatry with adolescents and adults.
How long have you worked there?
I've worked there for 5 years.
And tell me your educational background, just briefly.
I have 2 degrees from the Ohio State University. My first degree was a bachelor's of nursing in 1996, and my second degree was master's of science, nurse practitioner in psychiatry in 2016.
Do you know Taylor Denise Schabusiness?
Yes, I do.
Do you see her in court today?
Yes, I do.
She's seated to my left.
Yes, she is.
And are you related to her?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell the court how you're related?
So her mother is my first cousin. Marla is my first cousin, and Taylor's my second cousin.
Are you also here with your mother?
Yes, I am.
What's her name?
Roberta Connor.
And does she live in Ohio as well?
Yes, she does.
You came here together?
Yes, we did.
And what's the relationship with Roberta and Taylor?
Roberta is Taylor's great aunt. She is the older sister of Taylor's grandfather.
When Taylor was growing up, would you see her periodically in Ohio? Would she come to visit in Ohio?
Yes, she would.
Tell me a little bit about that.
One of the couple visits that I remember in particular, one was in the summer of 2001 when we were going through my grandfather's house. He had passed away in May 2001, and we gathered as a family to get together and go through belongings. Taylor was 3 at that time, and AJ was a baby.
And was there a picture of Taylor when she was 3 in a, like maybe a little skirt with a red top and tights?
Yes.
And was she standing by you?
Yes, she was.
And who else was in that picture? Do you remember?
Marla was standing next to me on the left, and then my cousin was standing next to Marla.
Okay. And where was that picture taken?
That was taken in Grove City, Ohio, at my grandfather's house.
Okay. So have you had a connection with Taylor Schabusiness over the years?
Yes, I have.
Did she come to visit you on other occasions?
Yeah, she came down for a family reunion in 2013 that we had when she was 15.
That was with your daughter?
Yes.
Was that the picture that you gave me of you in the middle, your daughter on one side, and Taylor Schabusiness on the other side?
Yes, it is.
And where was that picture
That was
taken?
taken at a park, I think on the east side of Columbus, where we had the family reunion.
Inside a pavilion?
Yes, inside a pavilion.
Okay. And describe Taylor at that time in 2013 from what you recall.
She appeared to be a happy 15-year-old girl. She had a great sense of humor like her mother. She appeared to be well adjusted at that time. I enjoyed visiting with her and asking her how her life was going. And I'd always told her I'd be available to her after her mother passed away.
Did you know about the losses that she suffered in her life? The loss of her mother, Marla, in 2009, and the loss of her brother, AJ, in July of 22?
Yes, I did. I grew up with her mother. We were very close as children. We spent holidays, summer vacations, and weekends together at my grandparents' house in Grove City, because when I was a child, I'd moved to the East Coast. But we spent, weeks together in the summer playing, planning our future lives, playing with Barbies. We were very close as children.
Did you talk to Taylor about her feelings and how the loss of her mother affected her?
I did. I remember at Marla's funeral afterwards telling her I would always be available to her if she wanted to know more about her mother. I certainly would be available to tell her what she was like as a child, and I would be available for her the rest of her life if she needed anything. I lived in a different state, but I've always made myself available to her.
I think you gave me a picture of, tell me if you did, of Taylor and her brother AJ when they were younger, maybe with Taylor eating either a pulled pork on a bun on a plate, or you remember anything like that?
Yeah, that was after her mother's funeral. We were at my cousin's house in Hilliard, Ohio for the family gathering. We had both sides of the family there. Art's family was there and my family was there.
Would you agree that Taylor always had a supportive family, either in Ohio or Texas or Wisconsin?
Absolutely.
And from the context that you had with her growing up, did she appear to be a happy young lady, happy child?
She did at that time.
You came to find out about the charges and the trial and the convictions, correct?
Yes.
You're aware of what she's been found guilty of, correct?
Yes, I am.
And you're aware of the maximum possible penalties and all of that, correct?
Yes.
At least as to the first degree intentional homicide charge, the statute indicates life imprisonment with either the possibility of extended supervision or parole or not. You understand that?
Yes, I do understand that.
Do you have any comments for the court to consider on that particular issue?
I do have some comments about that.
Okay, go ahead.
So Taylor, she comes from a loving family. I know her to be loving. I know her to have empathy. She's capable of love. I believe she has suffered immense trauma in her young life. First with losing her mother in 2009. Anytime somebody loses their mother at any age, it's a great trauma and a tragedy. So she grew up without her mother. And then from what I've heard, living with her stepmother and her father, I had always heard that they had slept in the basement. So
who slept in the basement? That
Taylor and AJ had slept in the basement.
Okay.
When her father remarried. We had always heard that in the family. In 2019, we suffered more losses in the family. Taylor lost her grandmother in May. And then in September of 2019, we lost a cousin who was 27 to a motor vehicle accident. That would have been Taylor's first cousin. At that time, at that funeral, when I spoke with her father and AJ, she was doing well. She was working at the cheese factory. Her father, Art, was very proud of her at that time because she was doing well. And then I had lost touch with her during the pandemic and found out about what had happened when we found out AJ passed away July 1st, 2022. That's when all this came out. So she lost her brother to a motorcycle accident. So our whole family has experienced a lot of loss, and Taylor has experienced a great amount of loss. I'm a mental health professional. She has a trauma history, and I believe she has mental health issues. I'm hoping as she goes forward, she can get the help she needs, and with some deep introspection, be able to work on her issues. And I'm here to be as much as I can with her on her next journey of life, as much as I can.
Do you have any comments on whether she should be considered for the possibility of parole or extended supervision?
I would like her to be considered for parole. I would like her to get a chance later in life to get to know her son. I think that would be very important to her, to be able to spend some time with him in person as she gets older, and other family members who are still around. Definitely.
Do you agree that Taylor needs drug and alcohol treatment?
Absolutely.
Do you agree that she needs mental health counseling?
Absolutely. And she needs to deal with her extensive trauma history.
You believe that she may need medication management?
Yes, I do. Absolutely.
Is she a lost cause?
She's not a lost cause.
Is she a monster?
No, she's not a monster.
She needs to be punished, correct?
She does need to be punished for what happened, and my family we regret what happened, and we apologize to Shad's family for what has happened.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any cross-examination from the state?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, man. You can step down.
I'd like to call Arturo Coronado next,
Okay.
please. That's fine.
Okay.
Smiling. Look at him.
As long as we're waiting, we're going to take the video off of you, Mr. Saunders. There is still the video running, however, for the grandmother. So you can't see her, but she still has the ability to look in. Okay?
Okay, Your Honor.
here.
Oh Lord.
Please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now before the court, so help you God. Please have a seat and state and spell your name for the record.
Arturo Coronado,
Okay.
A-R-T, C-O-R-O-N-A-D-O.
Mr. Freilich, the witness is yours.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coronado, good morning. Your daughter is Taylor Denise Schabusiness, correct?
Correct.
And when she was born, she was born in Evanston, Illinois.
Yes.
And she lived with you and your late wife, Marla, there for several years till when? Age 12 or so?
Till 2009, yeah.
Okay. And then your late wife, she passed away. Did that take a toll on your daughter?
Of course.
Can you tell me how that impacted your daughter from what you saw, what you observed?
Just, she was young. I mean, she lost her mother, and it's just hard to explain, but yeah, things are, aren't the same.
It was a traumatic event for her. Is that fair?
Of course, sure.
And then at some point, the family moved from Evanston, Illinois to Green Bay in 2008. Is that right?
Correct.
And you came to Green Bay because of a job, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then you lived here for a while in Green Bay, correct?
Yes.
She went to Bayport High School, correct?
Correct.
She went to Bayview Middle School, correct?
Howard Tomical School District.
Yes. And then at some point, there were some issues at the Bayport High School, and she went to Cotulla, Texas, correct?
Graduate, yeah.
Yeah. And she lived with your parents, Esther and Juan Coronado, in Temple, Texas. Is that right?
Correct.
And she graduated?
Yes.
And was that about 2016 or so?
I believe so, yeah.
When you lived with her, was school a struggle for her, or was she able to do the work?
From time to time, I mean, she did okay. She had some issues, nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay. I'm just going to see if you could just move the microphone a little closer or move a little closer because I can't hear you. Sorry. Would you help with homework and things like that?
Sure.
When you got remarried, did that take a toll on your daughter, Taylor?
I would think so, yeah.
Okay. Did you try to help in that regard to kind of bridge the gap?
Yep.
Okay. When she was living in Green Bay as a child, did you get her involved in any sports or activities?
Before I moved up, she was in soccer. She did band for a little bit.
Okay. Swimming?
No.
Okay. With regards to soccer, was she good at soccer?
Yeah.
She liked it?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Did you do some coaching?
I did.
Okay. Was that over at the Asco Noble Field, or where was that?
No, this is in Illinois, actually.
Okay. Did she play soccer in Illinois and Wisconsin?
No, I think she may have tried out, but she didn't follow through with it. So.
Okay.
She did a little volleyball as well.
Okay. So she was involved in activities, correct?
Sure.
What about art or drawing or things like that? Was she good at that?
Yes.
Can you tell?
She's pretty good. She's a very good artist. She can draw quite well.
Okay. Were you impressed by some of the pictures and things that she drew?
Definitely.
Does she have some artistic talents?
She does.
Does she have a creative side?
Yes.
When she was younger, would she help people? If someone needed help, would she help?
Yes, she would.
And I think in the pre-sentence report on page 17 of 38, you talked with a probation agent and you indicated he stated, this is you're the he. He stated she was a good person, kind-hearted, and helped others out. Is that what you said?
Always, yeah.
Okay.
She
Now,
always went out of her way to help.
okay. When she got a little older, after school, did she have a job here?
She did.
Where?
Big Beef City.
Okay.
Her first job.
Okay. What did she do there?
She was she worked the cashier and she did a little bit of cooking in the back.
Okay. Did she also get a job at Saputo Cheese Factory?
That was later on, sure.
Okay.
Yep.
And what did she do over there?
She was an operator. She worked third shift.
Okay.
She worked there about 3.5 years. She did really well.
Made decent money, correct?
Yep.
She liked the job?
Yep.
And when she was working at Saputo Cheese Factory, was she living with you here in Green Bay?
No.
Okay. She had her own apartment?
Yep. Okay. Well, she lived with us for a little bit, but yeah, then she moved out with a friend.
Okay. Would you keep in touch with her?
Of course.
Your relationship with her, is it good?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I received some pictures. There are all kinds of pictures that you would take together as a family, correct? Yes.
As much as we could, yeah.
When she was living with your parents, Esther and Juan, in Texas, Temple, Texas, you take family photos there, correct?
Yes.
And when AJ was still alive, you take family photos with him, correct?
Of course.
Was AJ pretty close with Taylor?
Yes.
He liked to ride motorcycles?
He just started to.
And would he let Taylor ride the motorcycle as well? No. Okay. But those two were how far apart in age?
About 2 years.
2 years?
2 years, yeah. They were very close.
Okay. They'd get together with extended family in Ohio, correct?
When we could, yeah. Mostly when they were younger.
Okay. And they'd certainly get together with your parents in Texas, correct?
Yes.
And so does Taylor have a strong family support network in the state of Texas and or Ohio?
Sure, everybody loves Taylor.
Think she's a monster?
No.
You understand what she was found guilty of by the jury, correct?
I do.
First degree, intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, third degree, sexual assault, all felonies, all repeaters. You understand that, correct?
I do.
You understand the penalties, correct? And then for the homicide conviction, it's life imprisonment, but the issue is whether she gets the possibility of extended supervision or not, possibility of parole or not. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you have any comments for the court on behalf of your daughter?
Sure, I don't think she needs life imprisonment. I mean, the mistakes were made. You know, her not being in the right state of mind when it happened, has a lot to do with it. Her whole life, she was a good kid. Drugs mess people up, and that's what happened. But I don't think that she deserves life.
You think she should be?
She has a child, and it'd be nice for her to be able to see her child.
You agree she's got to be punished, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. But is it your testimony that you believe she should be given a chance at the possibility of parole sometime in the future?
Most definitely. Yes.
Or extended supervision, that's what they call it. Yes?
Yes.
What?
You knew that your daughter Taylor got involved with Warren Shabo, correct?
Yes.
And he was the one that introduced her to drugs, correct?
Correct.
Meth specifically, correct?
Correct.
Intravenous drug use, correct?
She was like night and day. She completely changed. It's a different person.
You believe your daughter got addicted to the methamphetamine or other drugs?
Yes.
Do you believe that she should get some treatment, counseling?
She should have been getting treatment this whole time. I don't know why she hasn't.
With regards to your daughter, she has mental health problems. Is that correct?
Correct.
She's been to Purveya Health and got treatment there, correct?
Correct.
She's received treatment through Bellin Psychiatric Center in the past. Is that fair?
Yep.
She was under a civil commitment order in order to take psychotropic medications, a court order, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
That she was found mentally ill in the past by a court of law here in the state of Wisconsin?
Yes.
You were involved in that process, weren't you?
I was.
Trying to get your help for your daughter, correct?
Yep.
Lots of different medications were tried, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. Some of that, like she was just a guinea pig for some of that medication that just did not work and probably too strong. I'm not. not qualified, I guess, to say that, but just
What-
not work for her.
Sure. And Mr. Coronado, when she was staying at the Nicolay Psychiatric Center, was it your understanding that she was getting injectable antipsychotic medication during that short period of time that she was there?
I believe so.
And then she was released, and then the medication stopped, correct?
Correct.
Fair to say that your daughter had been receiving mental health treatment or counseling for quite a long time since her younger years?
That's fair. Yep.
That it would start, then it would stop. There was no consistency. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Do you feel that she fell through the cracks with regards to mental health treatment and all that other kind of treatment?
Definitely.
You talked to the people from the Department of Corrections, Rebecca Chavez, correct?
I believe that was her name. Wasn't sure.
Did you, when you found out that Taylor, your daughter, was involved with Warren Shabo, did you talk to her about the relationship, or did your daughter come to you and talk about the relationship, whether there were problems or it was good? Can you tell me about that?
No, they mostly kept to themselves. I knew she was seeing him, but they mostly kept to themselves. So she was working there, and then she quit her job and just hung out with him. So during that time, when he was out of jail, we didn't really communicate too much.
Was Mr. Shabo abusive to your daughter?
I believe it was, yeah.
When your daughter was living with you, did she ever come to tell you that she was having hallucinations, visual or auditory hallucinations? She was seeing things, hearing things, anything like that?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that, when that happened and what she told you?
Just that she would see shadows, from time to time.
And she'd hear things?
I believe so. Yeah.
What did you do?
It would come and go. Well, just talk to her, calmed her down, walked around until we were able to get her some help, or try to get her some help through Perea.
Do you agree that over time, the field of medicine, the field of psychiatry, the field of psychology improves every year? You agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, if she was taking the medicine, or if it was around, but I don't think the medicine really quite worked for her. She'd be drowsy. It would take a different effect on her.
Make her a zombie?
She didn't feel, definitely, yes.
What else were you going to say?
Just she wouldn't feel right. Her stomach would hurt, and just a lot of issues with the prescribed medicine.
Would you agree that your daughter has redeeming qualities to her? Can you tell me what they are?
I don't know. It's sad for me to sit up here, knowing what happened and stuff, and knowing my daughter the way, she was, the way I know she still can be. Night and day, she was always a loving, caring person. She liked to have fun, liked to joke around a lot. She's not the monster that, she's being made out to be. That's for sure.
You agree your daughter's got to be punished?
I'm sorry?
Do you agree that your daughter has to be punished?
Has to be punished?
Yes.
I'm sure.
Are you saying you want the court to give her a chance to get back into society in the future at some point?
Definitely, yes. She need help, mental help, for sure.
Ain't
She gonna get that help, from whatever happens, moving forward, I don't know, but she definitely needs help.
And is she able to love?
Yes.
Is she able to form relationships with family members?
Definitely.
Friends?
Yep.
When she lived with you, did she have friends over sometimes or bring people over?
all the time. Yeah, yeah, she had many friends.
Did she like to go to Ohio to visit an extended family over there?
Whenever we would go, yeah, mostly when they were younger.
Your daughter, do you think she's a lost cause or not?
No. No.
Do you think she could be fixed?
Yes, for sure, definitely.
Going to take some time though, right?
Yeah, with the right help, of course.
Nothing further from me. Thank you.
Cross-examination from the state?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. You can step down.
Too much for me, honey. That was her father, y'all.
Mr. Freilich, another witness?
Yes. I'll call Dr. James O'Donnell, Your Honor.
Okay. Dr. O'Donnell, if you want to come on up.
Time for me. Time. No, it's good. About fast. Time for me to go to work.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the matter now before the court, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat and state and spell your name for the record.
James O'Donnell, James, apostrophe Donnell.
Okay, then, Mr. Freilich, the witness is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Dr. O'Donnell, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Can you tell us briefly about your education?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree of pharmacy from the University of Illinois, a doctor of pharmacy from the University of Michigan, a master's degree in nutrition from Rush University.
Previously, you testified at a motion hearing, correct?
Yes, sir.
And your curriculum vitae or your resume was previously filed with the court, correct?
Yes.
What professional experiences have you had?
I spent 5 years as a clinical pharmacist at the Cook County Hospital, responsible for developing pharmacy services and consulting with physicians, nurses, and patients on drug therapy. I spent 12 years at the Presbyterian St. Luke's Hospital with similar duties. But during that tenure, I switched from clinical pharmacy to clinical pharmacology, research and practice. During that time, I was appointed to the faculty of the Rush Medical College in the Department of Pharmacology, first as an instructor and then promoted to assistant professor, and currently I'm an associate professor at the Rush Medical College. I ended my hospital work at Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's, gone through a couple name changes. In the late 80s, since then I've stayed on the faculty and have extensive faculty experiences, but also at that time I expanded my work in consultant work, consulting first with pharmaceutical companies, some government agencies, that pretty much switched to forensic matters and civil lawsuits and criminal matters in courts for various criminal events. Along the road, I've published 350 or so articles, including several dozen book chapters, all of which address, not all, but most of which address the adverse effects of drugs, but primarily therapeutic, but also recreational drugs. And I have edited 8 books. The last 8, the number 8 hasn't been printed yet, but it's still in the printing and final editing process. 5 of those books are titled Drug Injury. The books address issues of both therapeutic and recreational, including amphetamines and methamphetamines and stimulants. 2 books address issues of the science of drug development. And that's a brief review of my 43-page resume.
You've worked as a clinical pharmacist?
A clinical pharmacist and a clinical pharmacologist.
What are you currently doing?
I'm currently an associate professor working at the Rush Medical College in the affiliated with the Ovarian Cancer Research Lab, member of the Institutional Review Board for Patient Safety for Investigational Studies, and member of the Admissions Committee for the Medical College. And I also give lectures and seminars in the bioethics course in the graduate college. I described my editorial work. Unfortunately, that book is not finished. I intend it to be my last book. And then I do this forensic consulting, primarily in civil matters, but I do work in criminal matters like this, and that consultation work in civil and criminal matters is throughout the United States, including obviously Wisconsin.
You're in private practice, correct?
Yes, sir.
You do forensic consulting, correct?
I'm sorry?
You do forensic consulting?
Yes, I do.
What's the name of your business?
Pharma Consultant Incorporated.
And that's in Illinois?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever testified in court before?
Yes, sir.
How many times, sir?
More than 400 times in 40 years.
In what states?
Approximately 35 to 38 states, including Wisconsin. There's, you can estimate 10 to 12 states that I haven't given testimony in.
You testified here in Brown County in other car crashes involving reckless homicide, correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you testified in any homicide cases?
Drug-induced homicide cases and other homicide cases I have testified, and have testified in death penalty hearings. Testified in most of the criminal testimony is in things like DWI and aggravated OWI, or drug-induced homicide by vehicle, or selling drugs to people that kill the people and they arrest the person that sell or give the drug to them.
Have you testified in state and federal courts?
I have, including in Wisconsin.
Have you testified for private defense attorneys, for prosecutors, for U.S. attorneys?
Yes, yes, and yes.
The topics that you've testified about, can you briefly tell me about that?
It's civil matters. It's did the drug cause an injury or not? If so, how did the drug cause an injury? What could have been done to avoid the injury? Within civil matters, since I'm also a pharmacist, I evaluate whether or not the pharmacist committed errors, violated standard of practice, if their error or violation caused injury to patient who got the wrong drug with the wrong directions, or was not cautioned about an interaction between one or the other drug. Those are the only cases I testify in the standard of care of a health professional.
Have you worked with drug testing as well?
I've done that in my training and for a period in a research sabbatical 40 years ago. I don't do drug testing. I do interpret drug testing. That's done in a toxicology laboratory or a hospital laboratory to evaluate that toxicology results into a clinical context and what those numbers mean in terms of what effect it would have on the individual from whom the samples were drawn for the toxicology testing. And I have also given lectures on principles of toxicology in a graduate college.
Have you dealt with pharmacokinetics and detection periods?
Yes, pharmacokinetics is part of pharmacology. It is what the body does to the drug, and detection period, by definition, is how long the drug can be assessed, analyzed in various body fluid, be it either blood, saliva, and urine being the most common, and urine being the matrix or biologic sample that for which the longest detection period exists.
Have you worked with government agencies?
Yes, many. Wisconsin Board of Pharmacy, Illinois Board of Pharmacy, Illinois Departments of Mental Health, Public Health, Attorney General, Drug Enforcement Administration, United States Attorney, United States Congress, Chicago Police Department. There may be a few others.
Wisconsin Board of Pharmacy?
That was the first one I mentioned, yes.
Have you ever examined patients to determine the beneficial or toxic effects related to drugs?
I did that in my clinical practice in both the Cook County Hospital and Presbyterian St. Luke's Hospital. Over the period of about 20 years, I've done that in my forensic practice. And indeed, one of the other things I do is I do private consulting outside of any type of litigation for patients who are seeking answers or assistance on medication management. And sometimes patients are referred to me by their physicians to help solve their puzzles, solve their problems.
Now, with regards to this case, you were retained by the defense, correct?
Yes, sir.
And what did I ask you to do as far as services in this case?
You asked me to evaluate the matter, evaluate this Schabusiness, chronic and acute drug use related to the homicide. Evaluate, review, and to do so to review police reports, videos, autopsy, toxicology of the victim, pre-sentence. I've read since then pre-sentence investigation reports. I did interview Ms. Taylor, the defendant, before the hearing I was here for. I think it was in June or July. And I provided you with my opinions as to her drug use, her drug history, my assessment as to the toxicity from primarily an intense, high dose, almost daily intravenous methamphetamine use on her brain and her behavior, and also reviewing her psychological and psychiatric history, what effects those her methamphetamine use would have on her mental illnesses that she was diagnosed with. So I didn't do it, the mental illness diagnosis that was done by mental health professionals, but I considered what effect the mental illnesses would have on the drug use and vice versa, because that's part of what I do. We look at the drug, but again, get the clinical context. So what is this drug use, either whether it's quantified, actually measured in the exact amounts, or qualified, described as how frequent. Look at any evidence surrounding this as to what or how the drug use affects an individual's life, and then take into that, incorporate the clinical context of prior psychiatric treatment, psychological and psychiatric diagnosis, any psychotropic drugs for any mental illnesses, the effectiveness of those psychotropic drugs, whether or not the patient was compliant with the medications, whether or not when they use the medications and were not using methamphetamine, whether their behavior enhanced. So it's a lot of moving parts, but that's what a pharmacologist does in contrast to toxicologist that just looks at the numbers and says, this is how much was used.
You understood, or you were provided information as to the events that happened with regards to this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that blood was taken from a bucket and then used for testing purposes, correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what drugs Taylor Schabusiness admitted to using up to and during the date of the incident?
Yes. She was using methamphetamine and marijuana, cannabis.
Daily?
Marijuana daily, methamphetamine almost daily. Those are her words. So there were some days she didn't use it. And that was over the course of approximately a 2-year period, with the exception of when she became pregnant, decided and she stopped drug use, but drug use resumed after she gave birth and lost her baby, came back to Wisconsin.
Methamphetamine is highly addictive, is that fair?
Extremely highly addictive, one of the most addictive drugs that we know.
Based on your training and experience and knowledge, can methamphetamine use cause hallucinations, visual or auditory?
Yes, both. They can cause a form of drug-induced psychosis.
What is psychosis?
Psychosis, the easiest way to describe it is a loss of touch with reality.
Delusion?
Delusions includes hallucinations, just the loss of touch. What they do makes no sense. What they say makes no sense. They're not reasoned with. To use an old term, they're out of it.
If Ms. Schabusiness indicated that she had used 51 hits of methamphetamine prior to the incident on or about February 22nd of 2022, would you have a concern about that?
What I have concern, yes, I've never heard of that much methamphetamine used in one setting. I'd be interested to learn what the gram weight is of the methamphetamine, because we have a little bit more context then, but someone, for instance, using 1, 2, 3 grams a day represents tolerance. The subject has to use more to get the same effect. But even in the course of use of using it, the way methamphetamine is used, it's astounding.
As far as Taylor Schabusiness, how did she use it? Was it IV? Did she smoke it?
In her usual method of administration is IV. But she told me that she smoked it on the day of the homicide. That was the preferred method of the victim used, who was also a methamphetamine user. And that's how that it's the term hit applies to smoking rather than injecting.
Was it your understanding that the victim and Ms. Schabusiness were using meth prior to the incident on February 22nd of 2022?
immediately prior to and that for some time regularly used meth together, and that he was her source.
Did Taylor tell you when she first started using meth?
Yes, when her husband was released from prison, he was a methamphetamine user. He returned to using methamphetamine, and he got her started on it. And that I have a figure in my mind of approximately 2 years. I think that release was late 2019. About that time.
Okay. Did Taylor tell you or describe the effects that meth had on her?
It destroyed her life. No, those were not her words, but with my take on it, she lost the job that she had for 3 years. It was mentioned earlier, the Saputo Cheese Company. She told me she liked the job. She made good money working there. But when she started using meth, she stopped going to work. Meth was all that she did. She had other jobs, but they never lasted because she was either high or unable to go to work. It changed her. She became, I don't know anything, didn't know anything about her personality, which I've heard about today, but she did, was arrested for aggressive behavior against police officers. And I think that's what precipitated her commitment to Nicolette for the forced psychiatric treatment and medication treatment. She hadn't had that type of behavior before methamphetamine use. She had mental illnesses. She did have psychiatric diagnoses, but those were much more prominent after the methamphetamine use.
What psychiatric diagnoses do you understand that Ms. Schabusiness had at the time of the incident in this case?
By my reading, they're described as bipolar 1 with psychotic symptoms, schizoaffective spectrum disorder, PTSD, depression or major depressive disorder, and history of ADHD for which she was not treated.
Do you have any opinions to share with the court on the issue of impairment or that kind of topic on the date of the incident?
Yes. Based on in the setting of a long-term chronic intensive use of methamphetamine in a mental in the setting of in this young lady's life with a mental illness diagnosis or defect that is principally bipolar, extensive use on that day would cause significant intoxication and impairment. Methamphetamine affects the prefrontal lobe, executive function, judgment, discretion, consequences, and through a mechanism of altering the brain chemistry, principally dopamine and subsidiaries of dopamine and other neurotransmitters. That's the mechanism of the acute use. In a setting of chronic use in similar situations, she's already damaged goods. She already has brain damage. She already has brain damage from coming into the setting on the date of the homicide and using again. In other words, the chronic use causes over the constant daily insults to the brain function, the brain chemistry, the brain substance, such that even without the use of continuing use of methamphetamine, there is chronic damage that is present as a result of that long-term use, such that an individual has impairments to that, again, the prefrontal lobe, the cerebral cortex, deliberation, evaluation, judgment, risk-taking. So on that day, extreme, intensive methamphetamine intoxication. This young lady, because of her mental illness, the use of methamphetamine in the setting of mental illness, bipolar, particularly bipolar that's not being treated with a psychotropic drug, the methamphetamine exacerbates the bipolar disorder. And indeed, for the Schabusiness, the neuropsychologists who evaluated her a year after the arrest, over a period of more than a year since her incarceration, where she has no exposure to drugs, still has this mental illness and still has psychotic features, and therefore the mental illness is not drug induced, but in this setting, drugs will enhance the manifestations or negative consequences of the bipolar. And then finally, and I think I alluded to it, bipolar does have effective drug treatments, certainly much more effective than schizophrenic medications. However, if the patient is not given the medications, or does not take the medications, they don't have the benefit of the therapeutic gains with medications. Under that setting, where we have a patient who has a mental illness and is untreated and uses a toxic methamphetamine, there's even greater risk for a worsening mental impairment in setting where it's just total psychosis and a total loss of reality. Long opinion, but I think that's everything.
If a person like Taylor Schabusiness used marijuana at a young age, can that impair, alter, or distort her memory?
Yes. One of the consequences is memory distortion, but there's also a shrinkage of the development of the brain. The brain doesn't develop in a adolescent that uses marijuana chronically the way to its fullest potential as it would without marijuana. And part of that is so you're just dealing with less mass. One of the impairments that documented is memory distortion. And then I haven't said anything about the acute effects of marijuana with methamphetamine, because marijuana, in my opinion, is you rate these drugs in terms of risk on a scale of 1 to 100. Marijuana is at a 5 and methamphetamine is at 1,000.
As far as methamphetamine, does that impair cognition and other temperaments in an individual that uses?
Cognition, thinking, deliberation, control and behavior, risk taking. There's even something that I just recently learned, that episodic memory impairments. One of the applications of that is that people get so messed up using methamphetamine, but they continue using it. Now they're addicted to it, but they forget how bad they were during their last near-death binge. So yeah, but it's cognition and it just wipes out thought processes. There's no control over thoughts, and there's no control over behavior.
Impairs memory?
Methamphetamine, yes, it does impair memory.
Marijuana as well?
Yes.
With regards to methamphetamine, can that drug cause someone to have violent behavior?
Oh, yes. Violent behavior, and also part of the violent behavior is the criminal element of people robbing and shooting you to get your drugs or steal your money that you're using to buy drugs. But yes, violent behavior, violent attacks on individuals, attacks on police officers, suicides, homicides. One of the most predictably violent and aggressive stimulating drugs.
Fair to say that the more meth you use, the worse it gets as far as violence, aggressiveness?
That's fair, but I would have to be caution that not everybody's going to have the same extent of the violence, which is good, because otherwise we'd have many more, considering the number of methamphetamine users in our population. We have many more drug-induced homicides, methamphetamine attacks.
Dr. O'Donnell, is it your...
And having Granger as a partner, they make it very easy for us to keep our events safe.
It absolutely, yes, it is my testimony. That is my opinion. That's well described. That's how it causes the high, by altering the brain chemistry. It says you do it too much and invade. There's some literature that describes eventually the methamphetamine users develop Parkinson-like disease because their brain chemistry has been so messed up when they were young that the consequences are that they're at much greater risk for developing Parkinson's and at earlier age than Parkinson's is seen. Parkinson's is someone with movement disorders and has trouble walking and controlling their muscles.
Is it your testimony that methamphetamine use, chronic acute use, can create delusions, hallucinations, psychosis?
Yes, it is.
I have nothing further. Thank you.
Any questions?
Yeah, just briefly, Doctor. So I wanted to pick up where we left off there. You said that, chronic methamphetamine use, alters the brain chemistry. Is that right?
Yes.
And is that something that can be unaltered in some way, the brain chemistry?
Pardon?
Is that something that can be unaltered in some way, the brain chemistry?
With many, in regular circumstances, the chemical changes that are induced by a drug do go back to normal in certain circumstances, certain drugs. So the answer is yes.
Okay, but so you're saying from a young age, chronic use of methamphetamine, fundamentally changes the brain. Is that consistent with what you said? Okay, so then that chronic use at some point, is that able to be reversed in some manner?
Any damages are permanent.
Okay. And I guess one of the damages of long-term meth abuse, I think you said no control over thoughts, no control over behaviors?
That was acute.
Oh, for acute
That was
use.
acute. The damages of chronic methamphetamine use is that there can be psychosis, there can be lapses into psychosis. It can, and it can worsen any other mental illnesses. That's the major risk. Methamphetamine use doesn't cause mental illnesses. Methamphetamine use can exacerbate mental illnesses while it's being used.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you're not a psychologist, right?
No, sir.
Nor a psychiatrist.
I am not.
So you rely on some of those prior diagnoses and reaching some of your opinions, though, right?
Yes, I'm relying on diagnoses made by psychiatrists and psychologists.
Okay, and I think you said the principal one was bipolar 1 that Mr. Business had?
Yes.
That was a prior diagnosis that was made.
Yes.
That was nothing you, I guess, are capable of diagnosing.
I would not diagnose it.
Okay. So, if a court-appointed psychologist in the case found there was, quote, no credible evidence she has an underlying mental illness such as bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, or a like condition, you wouldn't be able to dispute that, right?
No, I think it would be some.
But obviously, using these prior diagnoses helps form your current opinion about her mental state. Is that right? These prior diagnoses of bipolar 1, schizophrenia.
I used prior